Hello and welcome. Today we will talk about Aztec Empire. Let's start. Enjoy watching. The birth of the Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire, known for its rich culture, advanced civilization, and powerful military, rose from humble beginnings to dominate a vast region in Mesoamerica. The Aztecs, originally a nomadic tribe, established their capital, Tenochtitlán, on an island in Lake Texcoco in 1325. Over the next 2 centuries, the Aztec Empire expanded through a combination of military conquest, strategic alliances, and skilled diplomacy. By the early 16th century, the Aztec Empire had become one of the most formidable and sophisticated civilizations in the Americas, renowned for its impressive architecture, complex social structures, and vibrant cultural achievements. Origins and establishment. The Aztecs, also known as the Mexica, were part of a larger group of Nahuatl-speaking peoples who migrated into the Valley of Mexico. According to their own legends, they were guided by their god Huitzilopochtli to the place where they would build their great city. They were instructed to look for an eagle perched on a cactus with a snake in its beak, a symbol that would become central to Aztec identity and iconography. Founding of Tenochtitlan in 1325, the Aztecs found the prophesied sign on a small, swampy island in Lake Texcoco. Despite the challenging environment, they began to build their city, Tenochtitlan. Through ingenuity and determination, they transformed the island into a thriving metropolis, constructing canals, causeways, and artificial islands known as chinampas for agriculture. The city's layout reflected both practical needs and cosmological beliefs, with the Templo Mayor, the Great Pyramid, at its heart. Growth and expansion. Over the next century, Tenochtitlan grew in size and influence. The Aztecs forged alliances with neighboring city-states, forming the Triple Alliance with Texcoco and Tlacopan around 1428. This alliance allowed them to exert control over a large portion of the Valley of Mexico and beyond. Through military conquest and strategic marriages, the Aztecs expanded their territory, subjugating other city-states and integrating them into their growing empire. Military might. The Aztecs were renowned for their military prowess. Their warriors, particularly the elite eagle and jaguar warriors, were highly trained and well-equipped. The Aztec army used a combination of intimidation, superior tactics, and brutal force to conquer and control their enemies. Captives taken in battle were often used for ritual sacrifices, which further reinforced the Aztecs' reputation for fierceness and religious devotion. Social and political structure. The Aztec Empire was characterized by a highly stratified and organized social structure, with power concentrated in the hands of the emperor and the noble class. The emperor, at the top of the social hierarchy, was the emperor, known as the Huitzilopochtli, which means great speaker. The emperor was considered semi-divine and held absolute authority over the empire. He was responsible for making decisions on warfare, diplomacy, and religious practices. The position of emperor was not strictly hereditary. New emperors were often selected from among the nobility based on their abilities and achievements. Nobility and priests. Below the emperor were the noble class and the priests. The nobility, or Pipilton, held significant power and wealth. They owned large estates, served as military leaders, and held high-ranking positions within the government. Priests played a crucial role in Aztec society, overseeing religious ceremonies, rituals, and the education of young nobles. The priesthood was responsible for maintaining the complex calendar system and interpreting omens and prophecies. Commoners and slaves. The majority of the Aztec population consisted of commoners or masahultan. They were farmers, artisans, and merchants who provided the economic backbone of the empire. Commoners could achieve social mobility through military service or by becoming skilled artisans or successful merchants. At the bottom of the social hierarchy were the slaves, or Tlaquetan. Slavery in Aztec society was not hereditary. Slaves could earn their freedom through various means, and their children were born free. Religion and culture. Religion was at the heart of Aztec life, influencing every aspect of society, from politics and warfare to agriculture and art. The Aztecs practiced a polytheistic religion with a pantheon of gods who governed various aspects of the natural and spiritual worlds. Major deities. Some of the most important gods in the Aztec pantheon included Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god associated with wind and wisdom, and Tezcatlipoca, the god of night and sorcery. Each god required specific rituals and offerings to ensure their favor and maintain cosmic balance. Rituals and sacrifices. The Aztecs believed that the gods required regular nourishment in the form of offerings and sacrifices to keep the universe in order. Human sacrifice was a central component of their religious practices, with captives taken in battle often serving as the sacrificial victims. The most important sacrificial ceremonies took place at the Templo Mayor, where priests would conduct elaborate rituals to honor the gods and ensure the continuation of the world. Art and architecture. Aztec art and architecture were highly developed and reflected their religious and cultural values. Temples, pyramids, and palaces were adorned with intricate carvings and colorful murals depicting gods, mythical creatures, and historical events. The Templo Mayor, the centerpiece of Tenochtitlán, was a monumental structure dedicated to Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc. It served as the focal point for religious ceremonies and symbolized the Aztecs' connection to the divine. Education and writing. The Aztecs had a well-developed system of education, particularly for the noble class. Boys were trained in warfare, governance, and religious duties, while girls learned domestic skills and religious practices. The Aztecs used a system of pictographic writing to record historical events, religious texts, and administrative details. These codices, made from bark paper or deerskin, provided valuable insights into Aztec society and culture. As we delve deeper into the Aztec Empire, we will explore the factors that contributed to its rapid expansion and the challenges it faced in maintaining its dominance. The Aztecs' complex social structure, rich cultural heritage, and religious fervor played pivotal roles in shaping their society and leaving a lasting legacy in Mesoamerican history. Expansion and conquest. The rise of the Aztec Empire. The rapid expansion and consolidation of the Aztec Empire were driven by a combination of military conquest, strategic alliances, and efficient governance. The Aztec success in these areas transformed them from a small city-state into a dominant power in Mesoamerica, controlling vast territories and influencing a diverse array of cultures and peoples. Military conquest and strategy. The Aztec military was a formidable force, characterized by its well-trained warriors, innovative tactics, and psychological warfare. The military played a crucial role in the expansion of the empire, as the Aztecs sought to subjugate neighboring city-states and integrate them into their growing domain. Warrior culture. Aztec society highly valued military prowess and honored successful warriors with status and privileges. Young boys were trained from an early age in the arts of war, and the most skilled and brave among them could rise to the elite ranks of the Eagle and Jaguar warriors. These elite units were feared for their combat skills and were often tasked with leading assaults and capturing enemies for sacrifice. Tributary system. Once a city-state was conquered, it became part of the Aztec tributary system. Conquered regions were required to pay tribute to the Aztec Emperor in the form of goods, resources, and captives for sacrifice. This system not only enriched the empire, but also reinforced the power and authority of the emperor. The tribute collected included a wide range of items, such as maize, beans, cacao, textiles, precious stones, and feathers. Intimidation and diplomacy. The Aztecs employed both intimidation and diplomacy to expand their influence. They often demanded submission and tribute from neighboring city-states before resorting to military action. This strategy minimized conflict and preserved resources while still expanding the empire's reach. When diplomacy failed, the Aztec military was quick to demonstrate its might through decisive and often brutal campaigns. Strategic alliances. In addition to military conquest, the Aztecs formed strategic alliances to strengthen their position and secure their dominance in the region. The most significant of these alliances was the formation of the Triple Alliance. The Triple Alliance. Around 1428, the Aztecs formed an alliance with the city-states of Texcoco and Tlacopan. This coalition, known as the Triple Alliance, was instrumental in overthrowing the dominant Tepanec kingdom and establishing Aztec hegemony. Each member of the alliance contributed to military campaigns and shared in the spoils of war, although the Aztecs, as the most powerful member, held the dominant position. Marriage alliances. The Aztecs also used marriage as a political tool to forge alliances and consolidate power. Marriages between the Aztec nobility and the elites of conquered or allied city-states helped to secure loyalty and integrate diverse regions into the empire. These marriages created bonds of kinship and mutual obligation that reinforced the stability of the Aztec state. Governance and administration. The efficient governance and administration of the Aztec Empire were key factors in maintaining control over its vast territories. The Aztecs developed a complex bureaucratic system to manage the diverse regions and peoples under their rule. Centralized authority. The emperor, or Huitzilopochtli, held supreme authority and was considered the ultimate decision-maker in matters of war, tribute, and religion. The emperor's court in Tenochtitlán was the center of political power, where advisors, military leaders, and priests assisted in governance. Provincial administration. The empire was divided into provinces, each governed by officials appointed by the emperor. These officials, known as caciques, were responsible for collecting tribute, maintaining order, and overseeing local administration. They reported directly to the emperor and ensured that the provinces remained loyal to central authority. Tribute collection. The tributary system was meticulously organized, with detailed records kept of what each province owed and delivered. Tribute was collected at regular intervals and transported to Tenochtitlán, where it was used to support the emperor's court, religious ceremonies, and public works. The efficient collection and distribution of tribute were essential for the economic stability of the empire. Challenges and rebellions. Despite their formidable power, the Aztecs faced numerous challenges in maintaining control over their vast empire. Rebellions and resistance from subjugated peoples were recurring issues that required constant attention and military intervention. Rebellions, conquered city-states occasionally rebelled against Aztec rule, seeking to regain their independence and avoid paying tribute. These rebellions were typically met with swift and brutal repression. The Aztec military would be dispatched to quell uprisings and reassert control, often using public executions and other forms of punishment to deter future resistance. Cultural integration, integrating diverse cultures and maintaining loyalty among subjugated peoples was a constant challenge for the Aztecs. While the tribute system provided economic benefits, it also created resentment and tension. The Aztecs attempted to mitigate this by incorporating elements of local customs and traditions into their own culture, fostering a sense of inclusion. However, these efforts were not always successful, and underlying tensions persisted. As we move forward, we will explore the peak of Aztec civilization, focusing on their cultural achievements, societal structure, and the intricate rituals that define their way of life. The next section will delve into the daily life, art, and religious practices that made the Aztec Empire one of the most fascinating civilizations in history. Peak of Aztec civilization, culture, society, and religion. The Aztec Empire, at its zenith, was a beacon of cultural and intellectual achievement. Its society was marked by a rich tapestry of art, literature, and religious practices that influenced and were influenced by the myriad cultures within its sphere of control. The daily life of the Aztecs was deeply intertwined with their religious beliefs, which permeated every aspect of their existence. Daily life and social structure. The daily life of the Aztecs was structured around their social hierarchy, which dictated one's occupation, lifestyle, and even clothing. Despite the rigid class divisions, there was a sense of community and shared cultural practices that united the people. Nobility and commoners. The nobility, or Pipilton, lived in large, well-decorated homes and enjoyed numerous privileges. They wore fine clothing made from cotton and adorned themselves with jewelry. Commoners, or Masahualtin, lived more modestly, working primarily as farmers, artisans, or traders. Their clothing was simpler, often made from coarser materials such as maguey fiber. Role of women. Women in Aztec society had defined roles, primarily centered around the home. They were responsible for weaving, cooking, and child-rearing. However, women also played crucial roles in the marketplace as traders and merchants. Noble women could become priestesses and hold significant religious influence. Education. Education was important in Aztec society. Boys were trained in warfare, agriculture, and crafts, while girls were educated in domestic skills. The Calmecac was a school for noble children, focusing on leadership, military skills, and religious training. The Telpacali, on the other hand, was for commoner children, providing basic education and military training. Art and literature. Aztec art and literature were deeply reflective of their religious beliefs and social structures. Their artistic expression was visible in architecture, sculpture, pottery, and manuscripts. Architecture. Aztec architecture was grand and symbolic, with the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan being the most prominent example. This twin temple structure was dedicated to the gods Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc and was the site of major religious ceremonies. The use of massive stone structures, intricate carvings, and colorful decorations characterized Aztec architectural style. Sculpture and pottery. The Aztecs were skilled sculptors, creating detailed statues of gods, warriors, and animals. These sculptures often adorned temples and public spaces. Pottery was both functional and decorative, featuring intricate designs and vibrant colors. It was used in daily life and religious ceremonies. Codices. Aztec literature was recorded in codices, which were books made from bark paper or deerskin. These codices contained a wealth of information, from religious texts and historical records to astronomical data and poetry. The surviving codices provide invaluable insights into Aztec culture, governance, and beliefs. Religion and mythology. Religion was the cornerstone of Aztec civilization, shaping their worldview and guiding their actions. The Aztecs worshipped a pantheon of gods and believed that the survival of the universe depended on their continued devotion and sacrifices. Major gods. The Aztec pantheon included many deities, each governing different aspects of the natural and spiritual world. Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, was perhaps the most revered, as he was believed to guide the Aztecs to their destiny. Tlaloc, the rain god, was crucial for agriculture, while Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, represented wisdom and wind. Tezcatlipoca, the god of night and sorcery, played a dual role of creation and destruction. Rituals and sacrifices. The Aztecs believed that the gods required nourishment in the form of human blood and hearts to sustain the world. Ritual sacrifices were conducted with great ceremony, often involving more captives. The Templo Mayor was the primary site for these rituals, where priests would perform elaborate ceremonies to honor the gods. The Aztecs also practiced auto-sacrifice, where individuals would offer their own blood as a form of devotion. Mythology. Aztec mythology was rich with stories explaining the origins of the world, the gods, and humanity. One of the most important myths was the legend of the 5 suns, which described how the world had been created and destroyed 4 times before the current 5th sun. Each era ended in catastrophe, and the gods had to sacrifice themselves to create a new sun and sustain life. Festivals and ceremonies. The Aztecs celebrated numerous festivals throughout the year, each dedicated to different gods and agricultural cycles. These festivals were communal events that reinforced social cohesion and religious devotion. Monthly festivals. The Aztec calendar had 18 months, each with 20 days, and each month was associated with specific deities and agricultural activities. Festivals involved music, dance, feasting, and sacrifices. The most important festival was the Tenochtitlán, dedicated to Tezcatlipoca, which involved a young man chosen to represent the god being sacrificed after a year of living as the deity. New fire ceremony. Every 52 years, The Aztecs performed the new fire ceremony to mark the end of a cycle in their calendar and the beginning of a new one. This ceremony was crucial for ensuring the continued existence of the world. All fires were extinguished, and a new fire was kindled on the chest of a sacrificial victim. This new fire was then distributed to rekindle fires across the empire. As we delve deeper into the decline of the Aztec Empire, we will explore the external pressures and internal weaknesses that led to its downfall. The next section will examine the arrival of the Spanish, the impact of European diseases, and the factors that contributed to the rapid collapse of this once mighty civilization. The decline and fall of the Aztec Empire. The decline and eventual fall of the Aztec Empire were precipitated by a combination of external pressures and internal weaknesses. The arrival of the Spanish conquistadors, led by Hernán Cortés, in 1519 marked the beginning of the end for the Aztecs. This encounter, coupled with devastating epidemics and internal dissent, led to the rapid collapse of a civilization that had dominated Mesoamerica for centuries. The arrival of the Spanish. The arrival of Hernán Cortés and his expedition in 1519 was a pivotal moment in the history of the Aztec Empire. The Spanish were initially welcomed by the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II, but their presence quickly led to conflict. Initial encounters. Cortés and his men were initially perceived as powerful and potentially divine beings by the Aztecs, partly due to their advanced weapons and horses, which the indigenous people had never seen before. Moctezuma II, believing that Cortés might be the returning god Quetzalcoatl, allowed the Spanish to enter Tenochtitlán unopposed. Capture of Moctezuma II. Once inside the city, Cortés took Moctezuma II hostage, hoping to control the Aztec Empire through him. This move backfired as tensions escalated, leading to violence and the eventual death of Moctezuma, either at the hands of the Spanish or his own people, who saw him as a traitor. La Noche Triste. The growing unrest culminated in the event known as La Noche Triste, or the Night of Sorrows, on June 30th, 1520. The Spanish attempted to flee Tenochtitlan under the cover of night, but were discovered, resulting in a fierce battle. Many Spanish and their Tlaxcalan allies were killed as they tried to escape across the causeways. The Siege of Tenochtitlan. Despite their initial setbacks, the Spanish regrouped and, with the help of indigenous allies who opposed Aztec rule, returned to lay siege to Tenochtitlan in 1521. This campaign was marked by brutal fighting and significant hardship. Alliances with indigenous peoples. Cortés forged alliances with several indigenous groups, including the Tlaxcalans, who had long resisted Aztec domination. These alliances provided the Spanish with vital manpower and local knowledge, significantly bolstering their forces. Military tactics. The Spanish employed superior military tactics and technology, including firearms, steel weapons, and mounted cavalry, which gave them a significant advantage over the Aztec warriors. They also cut off supplies to the city, weakening the defenders through starvation and disease. The fall of Tenochtitlan. After a prolonged siege, Tenochtitlan fell on August 13, 1521. The city's fall marked the end of the Aztec Empire. The Spanish systematically destroyed the city, including its temples and palaces, and built Mexico City on its ruins. The impact of disease. European diseases played a crucial role in the downfall of the Aztec Empire. The indigenous population had no immunity to these diseases, which spread rapidly and caused catastrophic mortality rates. Smallpox epidemic. One of the most devastating diseases was smallpox, which arrived with the Spanish and quickly spread through the Aztec population. The epidemic decimated the population, killing an estimated 40% of the inhabitants of Tenochtitlán, including many of the warriors and leaders who could have resisted the Spanish. Other diseases, in addition to smallpox, diseases such as measles, mumps, and influenza also took a heavy toll on the Aztec population. These epidemics weakened the social and political structures of the empire, making it easier for the Spanish to conquer and control the region. Internal weaknesses and dissent. The Aztec Empire was already facing internal challenges before the arrival of the Spanish. These weaknesses exacerbated the impact of the conquest and contributed to the rapid collapse of the empire. Political fragmentation. The empire was a collection of city-states held together by military force and tribute. Many of these city-states resented Aztec rule and were quick to ally with the Spanish against their overlords. This lack of internal cohesion made it difficult for the Aztecs to mount a unified defense. Economic strain. The demands of tribute and continuous warfare placed a significant strain on the empire's economy. Resources were often stretched thin, and the constant need for sacrifices created social tensions and unrest among the conquered peoples. Leadership crisis. The death of Moctezuma II and the subsequent rulers, Cuitlahuac and Cuauhtémoc, during the Spanish conquest left a leadership vacuum. The rapid succession of rulers in such a short time, combined with the pressure of the siege and epidemics, destabilized the empire and hindered effective resistance. Cultural and religious disruption. The Spanish conquest also led to profound cultural and religious disruptions. The Aztecs' religious practices, particularly human sacrifice, were suppressed, and their temples were destroyed or repurposed for Christian worship. Suppression of religion. The Spanish sought to convert the indigenous population to Christianity. Aztec temples were demolished, and Christian churches were built in their place. The suppression of native religious practices and the forced conversion efforts led to a loss of cultural identity and spiritual upheaval. Destruction of knowledge. Many Aztec codices and artifacts were destroyed by the Spanish, who saw them as pagan and heretical. This destruction resulted in the loss of a significant portion of Aztec history, knowledge, and cultural heritage. The fall of the Aztec Empire was a complex and multifaceted event driven by a combination of external invasion, disease, internal strife, and cultural disruption. As we reflect on the legacy of the Aztecs, it is important to recognize their achievements and the profound impact they had on the history and culture of Mesoamerica. The next section will explore the aftermath of the conquest and the lasting legacy of the Aztec civilization in the modern world. Aftermath and legacy, the enduring impact of the Aztec civilization. The fall of the Aztec Empire marked a significant turning point in the history of Mesoamerica, but the influence of the Aztecs did not end with their defeat. The legacy of the Aztec civilization continues to be felt in various aspects of modern Mexican culture, society, and identity. This section explores the aftermath of the Spanish conquest and the enduring impact of the Aztec Empire. The colonial period. Following the fall of Tenochtitlan, the Spanish established the colony of New Spain, which would become the center of their American empire. The colonial period brought profound changes to the social, political, and economic structures of the region. Spanish rule. The Spanish imposed their system of governance on the conquered territories, establishing a viceroyalty that governed New Spain. Indigenous elites who cooperated with the Spanish were often integrated into the colonial administration, but many aspects of traditional Aztec governance were dismantled. Encomienda system. The encomienda system granted Spanish settlers the right to extract labor and tribute from the indigenous population. This system often led to severe exploitation and harsh conditions for the native peoples, contributing to significant demographic and social changes. Cultural assimilation and resistance. The Spanish sought to assimilate the indigenous population into European culture and Christianity. Missionaries played a key role in this process, building churches and converting native peoples. However, there was also resistance to these changes, and many indigenous traditions and practices continued, often blending with Christian elements to create a unique syncretic culture. Demographic and social changes. The introduction of European diseases, combined with the harsh conditions of colonial rule, led to a dramatic decline in the indigenous population. This depopulation had far-reaching consequences for Aztec society and culture. Population decline. It is estimated that the indigenous population of Mexico declined by as much as 90% within the first century of Spanish rule. This decline was primarily due to epidemics of smallpox, measles, and other diseases to which the native population had no immunity. Social disruption. The massive population loss disrupted traditional social structures and community life. Many villages and towns were abandoned, and survivors were often relocated to new settlements organized by the Spanish. The social fabric of Aztec society was irrevocably altered, leading to the loss of many cultural practices and traditions. Preservation and rediscovery of Aztec culture. Despite the destruction and disruption caused by the Spanish conquest, many aspects of Aztec culture and knowledge were preserved and later rediscovered. The legacy of the Aztecs continues to be an important part of Mexican identity and heritage. Codices and historical records. While many Aztec codices were destroyed, some were preserved and provide valuable insights into Aztec history, religion, and society. These codices, along with accounts written by Spanish chroniclers and indigenous historians, help to reconstruct the rich cultural heritage of the Aztecs. Archaeological discoveries. Archaeological excavations have uncovered significant remnants of Aztec civilization, including the ruins of Tenochtitlán beneath modern Mexico City. These discoveries have provided a deeper understanding of Aztec architecture, urban planning, and daily life. Cultural revival. In modern Mexico, there has been a resurgence of interest in Aztec history and culture. The symbols and traditions of the Aztecs are celebrated as part of the national identity, and their contributions to art, architecture, and astronomy are recognized and honored. The Aztec legacy in modern Mexico. The legacy of the Aztecs is evident in various aspects of contemporary Mexican culture, from language and art to national symbols and identity. Language. The Nahuatl language, spoken by the Aztecs, continues to be used by indigenous communities in Mexico. Many Nahuatl words have been incorporated into the Spanish spoken in Mexico and have even entered the global lexicon, such as chocolate, tomato, and avocado. Symbols and imagery. The eagle perched on a cactus, a symbol from the Aztec founding legend, is prominently featured on the Mexican flag. This imagery reflects the enduring influence of Aztec culture on national identity. Festivals and traditions. Traditional festivals, such as the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, incorporate elements of pre-Hispanic beliefs and practices. This syncretic tradition blends Aztec rituals honoring the dead with Catholic observances, creating a unique cultural celebration. Art and architecture. Contemporary Mexican art and architecture often draw inspiration from Aztec motifs and designs. Murals, sculptures, and public buildings celebrate the rich heritage of the Aztecs and their contributions to Mexican culture. Conclusion: the enduring influence of the Aztec Empire. The fall of the Aztec Empire was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the history of Mesoamerica. Despite the devastating impact of the Spanish conquest, the legacy of the Aztecs endures in the cultural, social, and historical fabric of modern Mexico. The achievements of the Aztec civilization in art, architecture, agriculture, and governance continue to be studied and admired, offering valuable lessons and insights into the complexity and resilience of human societies. The story of the Aztecs is a testament to the enduring power of cultural identity and the ability of a people to adapt and persevere through the most challenging of times. Key figures of the Aztec period. 1. Acamapicli, circa 1375 to 1395. The first Tlatoani, king of the Aztecs, Acamapicli was a pivotal figure in establishing the Aztec dynasty. He was of both Aztec and Cahocan noble descent, making him a suitable leader to unify the people. Under his reign, the foundations of Tenochtitlán, the future Aztec capital, were laid. His rule was marked by initial consolidation of power and territorial expansion. 2. Huitzilopochtli, circa 1395 to 1417. The second ruler of the Aztec Empire, Huitzilopochtli, was Acamapicli's son. His name means hummingbird feather, and his reign saw the strengthening of alliances, notably through marriage to the daughter of the king of Cahocan. He continued the expansion efforts started by his father and enhanced the city's infrastructure and military capabilities. 3. Kaimapopoca, circa 1417 to 1427. Huitzilopochtli's son, Kaimapopoca, became the third Aztec ruler. His reign was relatively short and marred by internal strife and external pressures, particularly from the Tepanec kingdom of Azcapotzalco. Despite this, he managed to continue the expansion of Tenochtitlan and further develop the city's complex system of aqueducts. 4. Itzcoatl, circa 1427 to 1440. The fourth Tlatoani, Itzcoatl, is often credited with laying the true foundations of the Aztec Empire. His reign marked a significant turning point as he formed the Triple Alliance with Texcoco and Tlacopan, which effectively created the structure of the Aztec Empire. Itzcoatl led successful military campaigns against the Tepanecs and consolidated Aztec control over the Valley of Mexico. 5. Moctezuma I, circa 1440 to 1469. Itzcoatl's successor, Moctezuma I, is one of the most renowned Aztec rulers. He further expanded the empire's territory through extensive military campaigns and consolidated the empire's administrative and social structures. Moctezuma also undertook significant construction projects, including the expansion of the Templo Mayor and improvements to the city's infrastructure. 6. Xiaocap, circa 1469 to 1481. The sixth ruler, Xiaocap, was known for his military exploits, including the conquest of Tenochtitlán, a neighboring city-state. His reign, however, faced challenges such as the severe defeat against the Tarascans in the west. Despite these setbacks, Xiaocap maintained the stability and continuity of the empire's expansionist policies. 7. Tizoc, circa 1481 to 1486. Xiaocap's brother, Tizoc, became the seventh Tenochtitlan. His reign is often seen as one of the less successful periods due to his relatively poor military record and short rule. However, he is noted for his contributions to the city's architecture, including the dedication of a significant monolith known as the Stone of Tizoc. 8. Ayutthaya, circa 1486 to 1502. One of the most formidable Aztec rulers, Ayutthaya expanded the empire to its greatest extent. His military campaigns were highly successful, extending Aztec influence far beyond the Valley of Mexico. Ayutthaya also focused on grand construction projects, including the completion of the Great Temple, Templo Mayor, and enhanced the aqueduct system, which, despite its success, led to a catastrophic flood in Tenochtitlan. 9. Moctezuma II, circa 1502 to 1520. Perhaps the most famous Aztec emperor due to his encounter with Spanish conquistadors, Moctezuma II was a complex figure. He was an accomplished warrior and administrator who initially expanded the empire's territories. However, his reign is most noted for the arrival of Hernán Cortés and the subsequent Spanish conquest. Moctezuma II's efforts to diplomatically handle the Spanish invaders ultimately failed, leading to his capture and eventual death. 10. Cuitlahuac, circa 1520. Following Moctezuma II's death, Cuitlahuac, his brother, briefly assumed the throne. His reign was marked by his determined resistance against the Spanish forces. Cuitlahuac successfully led the Aztecs during the Noche Triste, where the Spanish suffered significant losses. Unfortunately, his reign was cut short by a smallpox epidemic brought by the Europeans, leading to his death only a few months after taking power. 11. Cuauhtémoc, circa 1520 to 1525. The last Aztec emperor, Cuauhtémoc, is a symbol of resistance and bravery. He led the final defense of Tenochtitlan against the Spanish and their indigenous allies. Despite his efforts, the city fell in 1521. Cuauhtémoc was captured and later executed by the Spanish in 1525. His legacy endures as a national hero in Mexico, representing the spirit of defiance against foreign conquest.